Thousands of people, lines around the block for a Monday show in freezing temperature. A crowd that is so big I could barely see the back of the room. All right, happy Monday, everybody. So, another government agency has concluded that COVID came from a lab. I know, and we have a photo of that lab right here. Ugh, not that lab. Although reports indicate he's still a really good boy. Yeah, this time the revelation comes from the U.S. Energy Department. My first thought, well, welcome to the party, you clueless. Sorry, I was off for a few days. I'm cranky. But how is this news? But also, who gives a damn about what the Department of Energy thinks about anything other than energy? Gee, I can hardly wait to hear what the Department of Treasury thinks about my gastro-reflux. The news comes from the Wall Street Journal, citing a classified intel report recently provided to the White House and key members of Congress, which includes George Santos. Says George Santos. A revised version will be provided to members of the squad once every word is replaced with racist. This is all a year after the FBI concluded the same thing, that it probably wasn't bat soup from a wet market. Hell, it wasn't even the walnut shrimp from Panda Express. So enjoy as much bat as you want. Just go easy on the breadsticks. Those carry Ebola. No? All right. Fans of breadsticks. Now, the people who want to downplay the news will say that the Energy Department made its judgment with, quote, low confidence, which is what Fox says when asked if Kilmeade still works here. And the FBI's previous conclusion was with moderate confidence. Low confidence, moderate confidence. Why not just replace our government with a magic 8-ball? And no, not that 8-ball. Hunter, if you're watching. Anyway, let's list who now admits the Wuhan lab was leakier than Joe Biden's underpants. We got the FBI and the Energy Department as a yes, but the FBI had no comment, but promised to raid Mike Lindell's house again just for the hell of it. Either way, the tide's turning towards something we had already known and got crap for saying so. Here's a former director of national intelligence.
You had these scientists privately in emails conceding, I don't know how this occurs in nature. From the beginning, there has never been an environmental source for COVID-19, which is why you see all of these scientists and now intelligence agencies backing away from prior assessments.
Pretty astute. When something doesn't occur in nature, well, you would deem that unnatural or man-made. I mean, just watch The View. For insight. But the White House promises Joe's going to get to the bottom of this.
There is a variety of views in the intelligence community. Here's what I can tell you. President Biden has directed repeatedly every element of our intelligence community to put effort and resources behind getting to the bottom of this question. If we gain any further insider information, we will share it with Congress and we will share it with the American people.
Get to the bottom of this? Hell, Joe can barely get to the bottom of his morning cream of wheat without passing out face first into the bowl. He can get to the bottom of stairs. That's usually when he's walking up them. Fact is, we've lost our faith in all these creeps, scientists included. I mean, 3 years ago, if you told me men had vaginas, I'd say, oh, someone never played Truth or Dare. But now we find science is open to interpretation, but only as long as it strays from the truth. It's the truth that's in trouble. Now, you remember the early days when anyone who brought up the lab leak was called a conspiracy theory nut job. Hell, this show, we're a bunch of nut jobs.
We began to find that the wet market theory fell apart and the laboratory leak theory got stronger. They described the spike protein right at the start of the pandemic in this virus. They just don't point out that it's got a feature that no other SARS-like virus has ever had in it.
In a sense, they succeeded in gain of function before creating a cage for it. It's absolutely mind-boggling that they did this. And that was 10 years ago. Minus 6 or 7, maybe 8 years. But that's Matt Ridley and me, I'm the handsome one, laying out the lab leak with evidence. And we got crap for it, as did pretty much anyone else who suggested it. Facebook banned mentions of the leak altogether, with Zuckerberg on the wrong side of history and truth once again. Media outlets from the Washington Post, MSNBC to Scientific American, they either laughed off or attacked those claims. And check out these geniuses.
It's this question about the Wuhan lab. We know that it's been debunked that this virus was man-made or modified or anything like that.
A conspiracy theory going around that the coronavirus originated and was perhaps man-made inside a lab in China.
Dr. Anthony Fauci rejected the conspiracy that coronavirus was man-made in a lab in Wuhan, China.
Both scientists and the U.S. intelligence community agree that this coronavirus was not man-made. That is not a possibility.
With so much egg on their faces, it's not a face, it's a frittata. That has eggs in it, just in case you guys don't know. But how can this surprise you? The media is consistently wronger than a waiter asking Joy Behar if she's eating for two. Remember, of course, they said Hunter's laptop was misinformation. Turned out it was as real as his crack habit. They said gas stoves aren't being banned. Under the current proposals, they will be. But if I went through every single thing that they were wrong in, from Smollett to Covington to the P-tape, cloth masks, don't say gay, we'd be here till tomorrow morning when they crack open the boxes and unpack the Fox and Friends hosts. Which is why this lab leak story is such a big deal. Because the media and the government tried to hold it back like Eric Swalwell after a cabbage smoothie. Clapping for the fart joke. You never know. And it's that cooperation which we should all find disturbing, because it's not really cooperation. It's another C word: corruption, cover-up. And of what? Could it be that the government used the media to smear the lab leak theory because they were funding the Wuhan Institute and wanted to make sure their hands were clean? Maybe, maybe not. Still, we need to chase this story down, not only because over 1 million Americans have died from COVID, but because maybe we'll finally get the truth and start holding some people, if not a country, accountable. And when that finally happens, the bad soup will be on me. Let's welcome tonight's guest. She's broke more stories than an axe-wielding librarian. Anchor of the story, Martha McCallum. He supports recycling by sleeping in a cardboard box. Founder of the LoftusParty.com, Michael Loftus. He spent more time on New York streets than hot dog carts and prostitutes. Former NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow. And finally, she was also leaked from a Chinese lab. Fox News contributor Kat Tipp. Martha, I want to take you back a couple years, back when we were both a bit younger. You wouldn't know because we're both beautiful. But there are people that were saying this was racist. Mm-hmm. And if I would steel man that argument and say, okay, it's racist because the people who would say it's from China, they might be racist about something else. So they think that that's the reason why you can't talk about it, not that it's actually from China. Do you buy that? Do you buy their reasoning that why we shouldn't have talked about it?
No. I mean, it's ridiculous. You look at this situation, right? You had, I think Jon Stewart was sort of a turning point in this whole thing. Yeah. And when he went on and actually said, well, it's at the Wuhan virology lab is right near where this happened, it was almost like, oh my God, he's saying it, yeah. He's saying it. I mean, it defies logic. It has since the beginning, not to dig into this for what it was. One of the questions that I have, and I love that you pointed out the low confidence, moderate confidence. Yeah. I'm like, what does that mean exactly? Yeah. So they're saying we think it came from the lab, but we have low confidence. So in other words, we know we have to say it because we know it's all unraveling. Mm-hmm. It is all unraveling. Mm-hmm. You have a study from Oxford on the masks. You have the Lancet, which, by the way, was the #1 place that gathered up the scientists right away and said, not from the lab. Yeah. Nothing to see here. They made everybody sign that. That was Peter Daszak, who was involved with EcoHealth Alliance, who was funding all of the science.
Follow that money.
Follow the money that went to gain of function research, both here and over there. So it's unraveling. And so now we have it, but we have it on low confidence. But what I was digging for today, they won't say why.
Yeah.
Why did you change your mind? This is an adjustment to a 2021 DNI report. And so today they're saying, and leaked through the Wall Street Journal essentially, they're saying, well, now we think it actually might have come from the lab, but we can't tell you why.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you why. It's exactly what the scientists said to you back then. They knew there was a structural difference in this virus that didn't look like anything that was found in nature, right? And Robert Redfield came on my show time and time again. He said, you can't. This was supercharged. Mm-hmm. That's why it kept spinning off into all these variants so quickly. That's why it went from lab to human and human to human so quickly. The markings were all there, but if you said it came from China, it was like a racist MAGA combination that was instantly shut down across the board. And now it's, like I said, it's
you can
all
complain
unraveled.
about Chinese lawn furniture, but not their viruses. Paul, you are a former detective and a lawyer and an expert curler, which I did not know. Josh Hawley is introducing legislation to make sure all COVID intel is open to the public. Is that going to help at all? What do you see this? What's the next step after all this? Lawsuits that go on forever?
I think the next step should be the following. They should, remember that big Black Lives Matter mural that they painted down Pennsylvania Avenue? Mm-hmm. Like them or not, what they should paint now is "We're sorry, Donald Trump."
Yeah.
All right, because he said it. And sincerely, I mean, as time goes on, how many more times are we going to say, geez, he actually got it right? Yeah. And this is really, I think, the stand. I mean, we can't forget, 7 million people globally have died from this thing. So I don't know how much intel is actually going to come out. There are layers upon layers. By the way, the low confidence, medium confidence stuff, all those are terms of art in intelligence. And you know what they really mean? We'd like to tell you, but we really don't think we should tell you. And my boss doesn't really want it to get out. And so they hide behind jargon. And as we've said in the past, the more jargon there is in anything federal, the less likely you are to get to the actual truth.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Michael, whenever I tell people, hey, if you ever want to see what pink looks like in 20 years, check out Michael Loftus. So...
Thank you for that. Thank you for being open to my lifestyle choice.
Where do you see this going?
It's infuriating.
Yeah.
Like, our government's way too big. Mm-hmm. Like, way too big. What is the Department of Energy even doing even near this? Mm-hmm. Like, last time, don't we need, like lower gas prices and a way to transport oil? There's spills everywhere, and the Department of Energy's like the Scooby-Doo gang. We're going to look into the Wuhan.
Yeah.
Anybody with half a brain knew this came from the lab.
Yeah.
And like the department, was the FBI just too busy? It's like, hey, we've got kidnappings to fake. We got January 6th to do. We got Russian emails to make.
Yeah.
And the Department of Energy is like, zoinks, we'll go over.
Yeah.
Rude. Yeah.
I love the fact that you're the only person who uses the word zoinks.
Yeah. But I do want to give a big shout out to the Chinese propaganda people for getting that much mileage out of bat soup.
I know.
Right? They had a meeting and they're like, we got to blame it on something. I got snake fritters. I got bat soup. I got cobra noodles. Ooh, go back one.
Do you know what's funny? You're onto something. We need to apologize to the wet markets.
Yes.
Right? The wet markets. That's like, you know what? Imagine another country attacking our farmers markets. Right? Farmers markets sound great. Oh, you got fresh food. Well, wet markets are just farmers markets with bats.
Yeah, and it's amazing how...
Yeah, I don't know if they're exactly like that.
No, you know why they're wet markets?
Exactly,
you know why they're
like
called
our
wet markets?
They
call it because they're hosing down the blood.
Because
right?
the blood is hanging
Which is the
from
best
the
part.
Yes,
that's what vitamins are.
That's how I stay alive, Kat. From the blood of wet markets. Do you think it's wrong for me, Kat, when I think about all those people that made fun of us, to want to murder them with mockery?
And love.
Are you okay?
I was off for 3 days.
I know you've been gone for a couple days,
yeah.
but
No, but you know what I mean. It's like, I want to take, I have some names of people.
Here's the thing. I think that...
Uh-oh, it's bad when they start making lists.
Yes. Go ahead. I'll look for my list.
I actually think that even if they didn't come out and admit this, which I agree, it was always pretty obvious that this is what happened. The way that they treated people for just asking questions isn't okay. I mean, have you ever we all know somebody in our life somehow, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's like a friend's boyfriend, something that's like cuckoo conspiracy, totally. Like, like the moon's not real, 5G made my son gay, whatever, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, how did this person get like this?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's meth.
Yeah.
But other times, it's like if even asking a simple question where you actually have many legitimate reasons to believe that it's true will get you shut down and, banned off of Facebook, people, mocked publicly. Like, you're not welcome in polite society. When you're not welcome in polite society, you're going to go deeper into tinfoil hat society.
Of course, you
because
bury
nobody
people.
else wants to talk to you.
They go underground. Can you really go gay from 5G? Because I'm really too heterosexual.
Shock to my uncle's friend's girlfriend.
All right, I have a list of names I'd like to work through, but I guess we have to go to break. All right. You're lucky this time, Tom Nichols, Apurva Mandavilli, Jill Filipovic, Ann Applebaum, and Nicole Wallace.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.